welcome to another episode of the Zzzax of Life podcast, a Marvel podcast from Laughing Place. I'm Mike Mack. Kyle Burbank is here.
Hey, I guess you have electricity, so that seems good.
Yes, I do have electricity back. As of recording this, we got it back middle of the day yesterday. So, for those of you who don't know, which, I mean, JC, you know, so whatever. I am in Orlando, so Hurricane Ian just rolled through and caused some damage. Nothing too bad. We were very lucky. I mean, obviously there was a lot of damage on the west coast of Florida. That was just crazy. And, hopefully everyone over there is okay. But yeah, it was a crazy week without power a couple days, and we were just talking before the show, and my whole week has been thrown off. Actually, I just should mention that here too. Like, we haven't, as of this recording, the poll has not gone up yet for our last draft. So you haven't gotten a chance to vote in that yet. But now, by the time you're listening to this, hopefully you have seen the poll up on our Twitter account.
Yeah, so we're gonna put it up late and backdate it. It'll be a backdraft.
Well, that's it. That's all the time we have for today's show. Thanks, everyone.
What replaced that here in Florida? Because in Hollywood, I'm pretty sure it's Transformers.
Did we have
or Mummy?
Did we have backdraft here? I don't remember.
Did you not? I don't know.
I never saw it. So
all right, fair enough.
Yeah. Maybe we did. Maybe it was before I ever got to Universal Studios Florida. I'm not sure. This is where we need Tony or Jeremiah. Jeremiah would know as well. But yes. Sadly, you guys are stuck with just me and Kyle. That's what we've got on Zzzax.
It looks like it was just Hollywood and Japan.
Okay, there you go. All right, see,
and it was replaced by Transformers, so I was right the first time.
So we know something outside of the world of Marvel, but this is a Marvel podcast, so let's talk about. We're gonna break down the 7th episode of She-Hulk, right? And some Marvel news, and have another fun draft and some How Much Is That Cameo. But let's start off with some news. Normally, right here, this is where, if it wasn't for like San Diego Comic-Con or D23 Expo, I would typically be saying like, oh, not a lot of news, nothing big. There was some big news over the past week in the world of Marvel. And, of course, they chose to deliver some of that while I had no power. But here we are. I would say two big stories, and then a couple more like decent, interesting stories in the Marvel world. Let's start off with the big one, which is Hugh Jackman is going to be in Deadpool 3. I wasn't working. This was before the hurricane hit, too. I wasn't working when they dropped this news, and you immediately texted me. It's like, why are you not working today? What was your reaction when you saw this?
Well, at first, because it was shared on Ryan Reynolds' Twitter account, like, you always wonder, like, is this 100% real? Like, not that they would, like, it's not fake Hugh Jackman or something, but is this, like, actually official? Is this saying what I think it's saying?
Right.
So, yeah, that was my first thought. And then, of course, as things get confirmed, you're like, oh, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, this is Reynolds being a troll like he usually is. I honestly wasn't even sure watching the first video, because they did release 2 videos. I wasn't even sure that was actually Hugh Jackman walking behind him. And then even the voice, I was like, I don't know.
So do you think – so let's talk about this, because you mentioned D23. At the beginning, he says, sorry, we couldn't make it to D23, which makes it sound like, hey, we didn't have this video in time for that. Mm-hmm. But it seemed like something that should – to me, something that they would have played – during
definitely
the event. Okay, yeah, because then you could probably tell that it's Hugh Jackman because it'd be on a big screen.
Right.
But when
fair.
you're watching it on your phone or on YouTube, on your little laptop, it's not very obvious at all.
Right.
It's more like going off the voice. You hear that little Australian timbre, and you're like, okay, it's it.
Right, exactly. My thought was that the reasoning they didn't have this ready for D23 Expo is probably that they didn't have Hugh Jackman signed on yet and didn't want to throw that news out there, or maybe legally couldn't throw that news out there just yet. So that's just a guess, though. I don't know if you have any other thought as to why.
No, I mean that totally makes sense, but it's like, but they got him to shoot a video even though his deal wasn't closed. Like,
well, maybe, they might have just shot this video. He literally just has to walk behind Ryan Reynolds for about 30 seconds. Not even that. So they could have shot this, a week ago. I don't know. I could be wrong, but
well, yeah, but then why would he even bother mentioning D23? Like that's
sure,
the part
yeah.
that's throwing me off.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that is part of it too that made me think like, okay, well, this is not a real announcement video. This is just Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds. Also, the other big news we got out of the first video is that Deadpool 3 will hit theaters September 6th, 2024. So we have a date. We are still quite a ways off, but you know, I mean, which is crazy to think like. If you go back a few years and you say like a new movie is coming out 2 years from now, you don't think of that being like, oh, that's so far away. But now in like with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the way it's functioning, you're like, that's a long time because we have, I don't know, 12 projects coming out in that window. So like it's 2 years feels like eternity, but we at least have a date for Deadpool 3.
Fair enough.
And the next day, Reynolds released another video, this time sitting with Hugh Jackman and trying to explain, you know, what we're going to see in Deadpool 3. And obviously it's just a joke. They start playing, Jitterbug, right? By,
Wake Me Up Before You Go Go.
Yeah. What's the actual title of that song? I thought it was Jitterbug.
It's called It's Wake Me Up, parentheses, Before You Go. I don't know. I'll look it up while you talk.
Okay. I mean, these are the important details that we need the people to know, so... but yeah, it's just
There's
the two
no
of them.
parentheses. It's just Wake Me Up Before You Go Go.
Really? Why did I think it was Jitterbug? I mean,
because it starts off saying Jitterbug, and that's also the soundtrack to the Freak Gasoline fight accident.
I was just thinking the same thing. You know, we're going completely off on a tangent now, but you know that movie we just passed 21 years since that movie came out.
Well, I guess I don't know. When I think 21 now, all I think is the Seattle Mariners. So the last time the Seattle Mariners went to the playoffs, they Zoolander wasn't
that's it. There you go. Zoolander and the Seattle Mariners. They're somehow connected. But yeah, so this second video is Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds talking with Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, playing over them. And so you obviously don't actually hear anything. There is a lip reading video out there that is pretty funny. They still don't give you any details. They kind of just describe a nonsensical fight.
Which, bringing it back to baseball, is done by John Boy, who does baseball breakdowns.
Yeah.
So it's all connected. We were there the whole time. We were on top of it.
You know what? On the baseball topic, by the time this episode came out, I'm predicting that Aaron Judge will have hit his 62nd home run. So,
wow.
Yeah.
What a meaningless thing, since it's not really the record.
Nope, that's the record by anyone not proven to take steroids. So there you go. But again, I digress. Yeah, that second video really just served as confirmation that Hugh Jackman is very much involved in this movie. And not only that, but also reprising his role as Wolverine, because the way Ryan Reynolds asked him in the first video is, you want to come back to play Wolverine one more time? And he says, yeah, sure. So it's not Hugh Jackman, coming in as a different character. I do still think he's going to be in it for a very short period. I think there's going to be some multiverse stuff probably. And he's going to have still going to be a joke is my guess. And he'll be in it for all of maybe 3 minutes or something like that. But I don't know. I could be wrong. I was wrong about Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in that sense. So
that's true.
We'll see.
Did you see James Mangold's response?
No, I did not.
He just shared a GIF of Logan's death and Logan. And then I guess people got mad at him. He's like, I'm kidding. Like, this is going to be fine. Like, don't kill me. I'm just kidding.
They did address that in the second video, too. They were like, the canon of Logan is not affected. That's still real. Like, that's set in the future. Not going to touch that. I have, timeline questions myself, but I don't think it matters because, again, I think multiverse stuff will be happening and, whatever. So, either way, really interested to see Hugh Jackman come back as Wolverine again. How do you feel about, like, do you see this as a bigger picture thing? Like, is Hugh Jackman the MCU's Wolverine, or are you more on my side of things?
I am more on your side. Like, yeah, I think it's a multiverse thing or what. Yeah, I think they can have their cake and eat it too.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I don't see Hugh Jackman signing on to do another 10 movies is what I'm saying. Like, I still think Marvel will cast their own Wolverine in the future. I saw today actually that Zac Efron is interested and wants the role, so that would be interesting. That's a name that's been thrown around quite a bit. But so I still think that's going to happen. But either way, excited to see Hugh Jackman play Wolverine one more time in Deadpool 3. Again, September 6th, 2024. So, just under 2 years. Another pretty big story in the MCU. We learned that Don Cheadle's Armor Wars is no longer going to be a series for Disney Plus, but rather a feature film. I'm curious as to your thoughts on this, and again, like having a better understanding of the business, and what do you think brought them to this decision? If you have any thought on that.
I guess it just comes down to the fact that a lot of these series, besides some of the beginning ones, is meeting the characters. That takes time. Maybe they just realize that they don't really need that much time to tell this story, so it might as well be 2 hours instead of 6.
Yeah, that's my thought as well. My guess is like they wrote out the initial script and they're like, we have like 2.5 hours of story. There's no way we can possibly turn this into, 6 episodes or whatever. So, I mean, that's my thought. It could be a completely different reason. Maybe something happens in this story that is so big that they want it, a theatrical release. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways you could look at it. How do you feel about it? Would you prefer this to be a movie, or would you have preferred a series?
I mean, it's hard to tell because we have no idea about it, at least not from a standpoint of what's been announced about this. I don't know if you have any comic background that informs this, but otherwise, we haven't heard anything about it, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, no, I read Armor Wars a long time ago, and to be honest, it didn't really stand out as one of my favorites. I should definitely revisit it, because I really don't remember much of it at all. But it is, it's a Tony Stark story, so it already has to be adapted for Rhodey.
Well, that's why I'm thinking, maybe it gets. I could see also parts of this story being incorporated into other projects. Like, I think we know Don Cheadle is supposed to be in. Isn't he in Secret Wars? Or Secret Invasion, rather?
He is in Secret Invasion, yes. I believe he was
and
also...
then I could also see, Ironheart.
Yeah, I believe he was also confirmed for Ironheart.
Maybe they just kind of bled those over a little bit.
Maybe.
Just, small elements, and then...
Yeah, I'm interested to see what this movie has in store for us now, because, that's just an odd shift. I don't think... I can't recall another example of this. Nothing comes to mind. So we don't have a release date for this yet, though, right? Am I missing something? There's no. It's not on the.
No, it was one of those that was one of those year 3 or whatever.
Right.
From, and then it was the one that was notably absent when they were laying out their phase 5 and 6,
which I guess makes sense now because they were not entirely sure what they were doing with it. So
waffling.
That's interesting. I'm very curious to see what comes of this, if there are any more changes in the future. Now this is one that I wasn't really all that excited about, and now there's just more buzz around it to me. So, maybe they worked this out on purpose. I don't. Who knows? Another pretty impactful story in the MCU. Marvel's upcoming Blade film lost its director, Bassam Tariq. He is staying on as an executive producer, but the film has been delayed a few times. Production's been delayed, and I shouldn't say a few. I think it was twice, once or twice. And because of those delays, the scheduling doesn't work out with Tariq, so he will no longer be on to direct. I am interested in how he maybe it's just the involvement he's had to this point that he is still going to be listed as an executive producer, but I am confused as to how he can stay on to executive produce but cannot not direct anymore.
I think you're misunderstanding what an executive producer is. But yeah, I think it's got to be contractual more than
fair
anything.
Yeah. So yeah,
no, an executive producer could be very involved, could be a showrunner, but not most of the time. There's so many different types of producers, but a lot of times an executive producer is someone who owned the rights and brought the project in, or negotiates to get extra money by being a producer. So yeah, they don't have to have an active role in producing in making the movie. They just need to secure that credit.
So interesting. So when you see those trailers and stuff where it lists like Giannis Antetokounmpo as an executive producer, now you understand a little bit better.
Well, one of my favorite examples is Boy Meets World. It was created by Michael Jacobs, and I think her name is April Kelly. And she left after the first season, but because she was there from the beginning and was an executive producer on that, she has like an executive producer credit or created by credit on Girl Meets World.
Oh, wow.
Which never set foot on the set, never probably even called or anything. So, yeah, just things like that.
Interesting. So, yeah, they reportedly are looking for a director right now for Blade. I'm curious to see where they go with this because, production is supposed to begin. I mean, again, they've delayed production a few times, but let me correct myself a second time saying the same thing. They've delayed production at least once, but it's currently slated for a November 3rd release, and production was supposed to begin this fall. So we'll see. I mean, how quickly can you get a director in and immediately jump right into production? It seems like, it's a big enough studio. They can pull it together, I guess. But
no, usually you want to fire the directors with like 1 week left and then bring in another person. And that always goes well.
Right, exactly, yeah.
For sister studios.
But yeah, we still have plenty of time before we get to Blade. I'm excited, but also, I guess, a little bit concerned with all the delays. We've seen projects like this get scrapped altogether because of delays and things like this. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm still hopeful. I expect to see Blade. I mean, they've already teased him in the MCU, so
yeah,
we'll see what happens. We'll keep tabs on Blade, obviously. One last story I want to talk about, and nothing too huge here, but did you get a chance to see the featurette released for Werewolf by Night?
I watched part of it. I did not finish it, and I'm not gonna play Daybreak and go watch it right now.
Should we just play Daybreak anyway?
No, because then you'd have to edit it out from the YouTube.
You're right. Fair point. Yeah, by the way, we are on YouTube now as well. If you are listening on, Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever else, our podcast can also now be found on YouTube. But yeah, so a featurette was released for Werewolf by Night, which comes out a week from now, by the way. We need to plan some scheduling around the next two She-Hulk episodes as well as Werewolf by Night, but we'll figure that out when we come to it. And the big thing I took from this featurette is that it did give us confirmation, although I guess the day before there were press photos released that confirmed prior to this featurette that Elsa Bloodstone is going to be a character in Werewolf by Night, which was speculated for a long time, and we kind of took as fact up to this point. But now we know for sure that the female lead that we've seen in the trailer is Elsa Bloodstone. So I am excited for this character's presence. She is the monster hunter of the Marvel Universe, essentially, and just a really cool character. So I am interested to see. Again, we don't know how much of an impact on the MCU this special will have because we have no precedent for it at all. This is the first ever hour-long special we're getting in the MCU. So I'm interested to see if she has a role going forward, because I think she's a cool character to include in the MCU.
Well, I'm excited to meet her and see this strange film.
Yeah, that was my next question for you was, what is your excitement level like around this? I know you're not a horror fan, but
right.
I mean, you
but
can
this
also
is like
trust
campy horror.
Yeah, it's going on Disney Plus. It's not going to be a horror movie.
I'd say I'm not terribly excited for it, but I will watch it, and I'll probably enjoy it in some capacity.
Yeah, things are a little bit different for me because, with my focus primarily being on writing about all the stuff going on in the world of Marvel, I tend to write a lot about whatever the next thing coming out is. And so as we get close to something, which this one really snuck up on me with everything that's been going on in the last few weeks, we only learned the date 3 weeks ago, something like that. So this one came up very quick, but leading up to the next project, I tend to write about it a lot, and that has created some buzz for me. So I'm now very excited for Werewolf by Night, and next week in general, with a episode of She-Hulk Attorney at Law coming out on Thursday, and then Werewolf by Night on Friday. That's going to be a fun couple days.
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of She-Hulk Attorney at Law, let's break down...
Actually, if I may,
you may.
Can we please talk about some non-Marvel news?
Oh, okay. What do you got for me?
And a movie.
You're right. We should be talking about that on this podcast. Yeah, man. That is honestly, that's the most exciting news. That came, like, Hugh Jackman was announced to be in Deadpool 3, and I'm still more excited about a Community movie being confirmed. For this Peacock, so not a theatrical release or anything, but I'm still so excited for this.
Yeah, it was funny because I texted you the story, and I was like, well, I don't think he has power because he hasn't responded to me, and I told him that a Community movie was coming out. So there's no chance that he has power.
Yeah. Now, my big question for you is, do you have any news to break for us on the podcast? Have you gotten the call? Is the contract in the mail, or what's going on?
I can only hope. I mean, I hope that I haven't changed my phone number since 7th grade, so hopefully it's still on file.
For those who don't know, by the way, Kyle was one of the stars of Community.
I was not a star. I was an extra. You can probably spot me in a couple episodes, but they actually changed background casting agencies like part of the way through. So once that changed, I don't think I was on it when it switched over to. So it was like it's called Cast of Thousands. It was more of not a boutique casting agency, but a smaller one, and then it switched to like the biggest background casting agency, which was a bit more annoying to work with, and get brought on to stuff. So yeah, I stopped doing it. I think I don't remember if I made it to season 5. I think my last one was probably in the gas leak year.
I do remember watching one of the Christmas the Glee episode and seeing you in there and be like, oh my god, there's Kyle.
And I'm on Glee too, so that was also a lot of fun to be like. And they shoot around the corner from each other. Like they were both on the Paramount lot, like hundreds of feet from each other.
You got to see Britta sing her weird song, and take part in paintball, which is just awesome.
Yes, those two and the pillows and blankets, and just spending a week in my pajamas sitting around set is probably some of my favorite moments.
That's awesome.
Also, I got to sit there and watch them rehearse the scene at Starburn's funeral, and I was just so excited. It was just so funny, and I actually have the script pages, and in the notes it says Annie drops the mic like Chris Rock, and I thought that was just the best stage direction I'd ever read.
That's amazing. Oh man, I need to rewatch this show again for like I've lost count. I have no idea how many times I've watched this show.
Well, we were watching it in French. So we got part of season 1, and then I open up the dice app on my phone, and I roll the dice. I roll a single dice for a season, and then depending on which season that is, I do 2 or 3 dice to choose an episode number.
Wow. Yeah. So not just watching sequentially.
So many timelines.
Yeah, that you're creating way too many timelines. Jeez, talk about multiverse.
Yes, I'm very excited about the Community movie.
Yeah, I will be more excited when we get confirmation that Donald Glover is in it. But
I mean, I'm also happy not getting confirmation and just
sure,
seeing it and even pop up.
Fair, but we're going to hear about it.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Let's move on to She-Hulk Attorney at Law. And I mean, this show it continues to be what it is, right? Like it's so much fun. It's hilarious. Doesn't give us a ton to talk about. There were a bunch of fun Marvel things thrown in there, but nothing that's like big picture MCU stuff that we know of for sure just yet. But, another fun episode. What did you think?
Yeah, it was another one of those that it had more consequences than the last episode, I'd say.
Yeah.
But, I enjoyed it, but yeah, there's not much to say, especially when it starts with basically a music video.
Right, yeah, just a montage of dates, and then followed like shortly thereafter by like a sad montage of Jen being ghosted.
Yes, yeah, it was like, is there going to be dialogue in this episode, or are we just gonna do?
It could have given us one of those, like an episode like the one of I'm blanking on the show, Only Murders in the Building, where it was told from the perspective of the deaf character, and you didn't hear anything until the very end.
Yeah, for sure.
Although it would have been funny
I
if...
was just gonna say, it's Becca, everybody. You can tell this show is written by women because seriously, Jen is the most real character that I've experienced in Marvel and superhero stories. She's really well done, and while I don't have the same experiences as her, I felt every single moment of that opening sequence, the whole like Josh ghosting her. It hit home. So they've done a really good job with this character.
That is awesome, and I'm so glad you popped in, Becca, because I totally agree, but also can't, I can't speak to that. I'm not a woman, so I don't have the same experiences. So it's great to get the female perspective on this show because, I like I said, I totally agree. I feel like Jen is such a relatable character, and they're telling her story so perfectly. But just coming from a different perspective, I think it means more. I also thought it would have been really funny if the only dialogue we got in this show was her singing "Mbop." That would have been great.
Yeah, that would have been good.
But yeah, so it really opens up with like not much for a good 5 minutes, probably. Except, I mean, we talked about it last week. I mean, we knew Josh was a bad guy, right? Like nobody was shocked by this. And I know I'm kind of spoiling the end of the episode, but like you've seen it already. So I wasn't surprised when Josh turned out to be a bad guy. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know. I don't know if anybody was really surprised by that at all.
I don't think they were surprised, but you could still be sad about it.
Yeah, I agree. Like in the moments where you're with Jen in the beginning of the episode, yeah, you feel that, and then the ending comes around, you're like, yeah, okay, you're confirming for us now what we pretty much knew. But we'll talk about that a little bit more later. I want to talk about some of the other characters we meet in this because this is all about Blonsky's ankle bracelet going off and his parole officer asking Jen to come up to his farm or whatever you want to call it with him, his ranch, I think. And, mostly for backup because he doesn't have officers with him and he doesn't want to face the abomination without a Hulk by his side. So they go up there.
Even though he was totally, like, chill the last time they saw him. Like, no one learned their lesson.
Right. But yeah, so it's all about Jen getting up to this ranch and then meeting some of these other characters and actually like weirdly getting the therapy she needed, which we'll talk about again in a little bit. But some of the characters we meet. First, we meet Man-Bull and El Aguila. I butcher the pronunciation. I've only ever seen it written. Yeah, the Matador. The don't call him a Matador. But Man-Bull and El Aguila are both characters from the comics. Man-Bull is a minor villain. I think he debuted in a Daredevil comic, actually. So he's faced off with pretty big heroes. El Aguila is a little bit interesting because in the comics he is actually a depowered mutant who lost his powers in M-Day, which was, if you remember, was caused by the Scarlet Witch when she said no more mutants and depowered like millions and millions of mutants around the world and killed several others. So that was an interesting little connection here. Although we do see that he does have abilities in this episode. Not that he really uses them, but so there's that. And then Jen searching for service on her phone as she waits for her car, which Man-Bull broke, to be towed. She stumbles into a therapy session, I guess you'd call it. I don't know that we ever got like a real term for what it is they're seeking.
Like
there.
A support group.
A support group. There you go. That's a good term for it. So she stumbles in and you see Man-Bull and El Aguila there. You also meet two new characters, which is Saracen and Porcupine. I love that the way that Blonsky introduces him. He's just like, this is Porcupine. He's a porcupine. Which he's clearly not. He's a man in a costume. But Saracen is interesting too. He says Saracen thinks he's a vampire, and you can tell there's something like he's not. He doesn't really seem supernatural in this show. In the comics, though, he is a vampire. He's a member of a group of vampires called the Ancient, which I thought was really interesting. And they actually make a mention of his father in this episode, and I was hoping to find some connection to a father figure in his comic book history. I couldn't find anyone, though I'm wondering if that is a hint at Dracula, who, I mean, could be considered just the father of vampires. So I don't know. I thought that was an interesting seed to plant there. Porcupine, by the way, also a minor villain. He has tangled with Spider-Man and some others. So the costume, by the way, looks like it came right off the page. So they really nailed that look for that character here, which was really cool to see. But it's just a fun, nonsensical group of characters to throw into an episode. Like, it's like the Leo pointing at the TV thing, just like, Marvel fans like, oh, I know this character. But again, non-consequential at all. There's no, I'm not expecting a Porcupine series down the road or anything. Like,
Right.
nothing big picture MCU.
Although I was half expecting that this is where Frogman might make an
we're
entrance.
still waiting on Frogman. 2 episodes left, and no Frogman appearance yet. So, yeah, it would have made sense for him to fit in here. Although I think we are going to meet him and Daredevil at a similar time. Well, we'll see. One of my favorite gags, I feel like I say this every week, but they just drop another great joke into every episode. And this one is Jen looking at the camera after Wrecker walks into this support group, and she's like, seriously, did they do a previously on this guy? You know what, never mind, previously on this guy. And then we cut to a previously on and seeing the Wrecking Crew jumping Jen in the alley from a few episodes back. That was just, I mean, fourth wall breaking is top notch in this show.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, Wrecker is a member of this support group. It seems like he has reformed in this short time that he is, like, since he was jumping women in alleys, he is now, completely reformed in just a few episodes. So, good for him. Jen doesn't really see it that way at first, and then eventually she gives in to allowing herself to be therapized. And that, like I said before, we get like the emotional notes of this, what this show has been like leading up to, because we've talked about it, like the underlying story of Jen versus the story of She-Hulk, and all of the stuff that she is feeling as Jen Walters, and that kind of comes to a head in this episode. So I like that they did that very well. It's also like, it's hilarious the way that it happened, because look at this support group of nonsense that she is in, where this whole story comes to a head. So fits perfectly with what this show has been.
Hurtin' for a yurtin'. Just wanted to say that the entire time.
Thank you. Yes, I'm glad you threw that in there. I will be honest, I did have to look up what a yurt was.
Yeah, you didn't know what a yurt was?
I've heard the term before, but I didn't. So even upon Googling, I was like, it's just like a tent or like a...
Yeah, so I don't think this seemed to be like a sauna inside of a yurt.
Yeah, exactly. That threw me off, because I was like, wait, is a yurt just another term for a steam room or a sauna or something? Like, but yeah, okay. So I was a little bit thrown off by the definition of the word yurt. So that's what I learned from this week's episode.
Do 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 do.
Lots of fun stuff with Jen this week, but then it ends with a cut back to 3 days earlier. And we see Josh. Oh, first of all, I want to go back to a line from Saracen, because I think Wrecker actually points out, is like, we have to entertain the possibility that he ghosted you. And then Saracen jumps in and says, or he wanted your blood. And they're like, no, not everybody wants your blood. Like, stop being a vampire. And it's like written off as a joke, but he's right, because we see Josh get up in the middle of the night, and he sends a message. Well, first of all, he copies all the information from Jen's phone, which I thought was interesting, because I'm curious as to what, like, that never felt like it was part of it. Like, we saw this whole group, we saw the Wrecking Crew go after her with a syringe, and it didn't work, and so the whole thing was about getting her blood. So I'm interested why he's copying her phone information. But he sends a message to Hulk King, which is the handle that we saw last week, right? Yeah, at the end of last week's episode, and sends this person like 3 emojis. I think it's the syringe or the blood, and a vial
You
of
could
like
just type
green-
sentences, dude. Like
Yeah,
you can do swipe text.
I thought that was real weird too. Like this is like an official communication to your boss, and you're sending emojis. And it was like the syringe, a little vial of chemicals, and then like a thumbs up. And I'm like, did you really even need the thumbs up? Like,
Well,
kinda
are these
got the message
custom
across.
emojis? Like I don't know if these are standard.
I'm not
Like
sure.
some of them might be, but no, I'm not. I haven't tried to recreate this message.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like I have seen the syringe one before, but now that I think
Well,
about
that
it,
one makes sense, but yeah.
but does it? Why? What use do you ever have for a syringe emoji?
I'm getting my COVID vaccine. I don't.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if these are custom emojis or not, but weird to send this message in emoji form. But again, just confirmed what we knew, that Josh was a bad guy. We couldn't trust him. We didn't trust him from the beginning. So, yeah, and that's where the episode closes. No tag again this week, which is disappointing.
Damn you, Georgia.
Yeah, again, the episode's ending and then giving us that Georgia logo. Like, just bad PR for the state of Georgia. But
It's not peachy.
No, it's not. Also, I said it since I started seeing new episodes, it flies by, man. This episode ended, and I was like, no way it's over already. That was a 15-minute episode. Surely enough, it was just about a half hour. But, yeah, they are just really, like, they're gone so quick. But yeah, so that was the 7th episode of She-Hulk Attorney at Law. Again, really enjoying the show, really interested. I am a little bit worried, and we talk about this with every Disney Plus show, but it does seem like they are backing themselves into a corner where they're going to have to wrap up a lot of things in the finale. Now, we still have 2 episodes, so maybe we get a lot of stuff next week. I would assume next week we meet Daredevil, and they're not saving him for the finale, because that would be a weird thing to introduce with roughly a half hour of the show left. So I would think we get Daredevil next week, and probably a couple of answers as to what we're going to see in the finale, and then hopefully they don't leave themselves too much to do in that finale.
Well, I mean, if they do, I'm sure Jen could just make a joke about it and will be like, that was fantastic.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That's the brilliant thing about this show, is like they can just make fun of themselves and we're going to find it hilarious. And so like anything that like in WandaVision or in Moon Knight that we would have complained about, it's going to work here. And I think they found a great formula here.
It reminds me of you've been on not Cosmic Rewind, the other one, Mission Breakout.
I have, yeah.
And there's a bunch of different lines, but one of them is when the door opens. It's like Disneyland. That's thematically inconsistent.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I said, I think they just figured it out for this show. It works so well, and really looking forward to seeing Daredevil next week as I continue to make that my prediction for every show. All right, you ready to move on to our games?
Let's do it.
How much is that cameo? All right, we have another fun round of How Much Is That Cameo, and joining us again is Cole.
Woo! Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, the excitement coming on to join for How Much Is That Cameo. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, thank you for joining us. We are going to do, we're going to have a fun draft later on that I know Kyle and I have struggled to put a list together for, but we'll see how you did as well. But first, How Much Is That Cameo? Kyle, who do we have this week?
Well, let me play you this person's intro.
Hey, beautiful people. I am very excited to be part of the Cameo app. I don't think there has been a much better time for such an app, especially given these times from the pandemic to all the negativity around the world. I think more than ever, we need to focus on what's good around us, and what better way than to celebrate a birthday or a graduation or a promotion or an anniversary.
And that's where it leaves off, believe it or not. It's just like a first draft that he forgot what he was saying and then didn't upload the other one. And this is another one where I could really use help on the pronunciation, but they're just not going to say their name. So I'm going to take a shot at it and say that is Haz Slyman. He plays Ben in Eternals, Phastos' husband. Okay. And apparently he's also been on Nurse Jackie and in the Nikita series or mini-series or something. But anyway, for all the questions I have a question for you as well, and that is, how much is that cameo?
Well, first off, I do appreciate that he felt the urgency to pull over on the side of the freeway to record that video, because it just sounds like
sitting on
traffic.
His front porch. Yeah, he must be.
It just sounds like cars are rushing by him as he's doing that. Also, yeah, the
Vanessa
whole
Carlton on the piano. That's why you couldn't see that.
Is Vanessa Carlton on Cameo? I should look for that one.
Bonus round if she is.
Okay, this is very difficult because, whenever you get those actors that are like, yeah, he has a role in a big Marvel movie, but it's not a big one, and I don't know. I'm going to go with $70.
Okay.
I have no idea. The other day we were talking about Cameo at work, and I found out Lindsay Lohan was $500. So based off of that, I'm gonna say like 25, because this person seems like 1/20th of the fame that Lindsay Lohan is.
I like the math approach.
Yeah, I just had to work my way through it, basically.
So, Mac, you said 70?
$70, yeah.
Okay. Then this week's winner is Mac, because that cameo is $50.
Oh, okay. It was close.
10th.
Wow. He is. I honestly, I don't even remember what the name is. Kyle, some Sly something.
Haas Slyman.
I don't
Sure.
even see him. Like, he's so far down on this IMDb page. To even look at.
Haas Slyman is approximately 1/10 of Lindsay Lohan. Got it. I'm gonna try and approach. We're gonna use the Lindsay Lohan system from now on, trying to come up with my answers.
It's not a winning strategy, but it's a strategy.
It's not. I mean, that goes for Cameo and life in general.
But which Lindsay Lohan?
I mean, I don't even want to. We've already derailed this episode enough.
I just meant there's two of them in Parent Trap.
Oh,
I see. I see what you're. Okay. I thought we were going down a different road that I didn't want to venture down.
No, but she's a mathlete, so she can help us calculate these.
I mean, yeah, the limit does not exist. Anyway, you guys ready to draft?
Yeah.
Yes.
What if I told you we were putting a team together? Assemble.
All right, so given the big news that we talked about at the top of this episode, with Hugh Jackman returning to play Wolverine one more time, for the first time in the MCU, we are going to be drafting non-MCU, this is like no good way to word this, but non-MCU actors from other Marvel movies who we want to reprise their roles in the MCU. Does that make sense?
And that haven't done so already.
Exactly, yes. So we cannot draft...
And also ones that haven't played different roles in the MCU. So, like, Michael B. Jordan. You can't take Michael B. Jordan because he's already been in the MCU.
No, I would say you could take Michael B. Jordan. You just...
Well, then what the I completely...
I'm going to say that Mac, I asked him very specifically, and he said it's allowed.
I assumed that excluded that. I guess I didn't ask specifically. I just thought it was implied that if there's already the character... Well, maybe not the character because of multiverse stuff, but if the actor was already appeared in the MCU, then they were off the table. But, I mean, I guess I can just go on the fly if we're going to change that.
Yeah, no, the only thing is you can only have the actor reprise their role. So if you want Michael B. Jordan, you can have him play the Human Torch in the MCU. I doubt anyone wants that. Although, I guess he was the bright spot. I don't know. I never saw that movie, and I refuse to.
Was that a pun?
It wasn't, but now it is. So thank you. But yeah, you can do that. They just have to be reprising their role. So you're not drafting him to play Killmonger again. You're drafting him to play the Human Torch.
All right. I got that part.
Okay,
that part makes sense.
I have to ask clarifying questions, Kyle. I ask very specific questions.
Yes. You can tell Cole is someone who plays in like way too many fantasy football leagues.
What is in the rules?
All right. Anyway, we are going to be drafting these actors to reprise their roles for the MCU. Cole, do you want to draft first, second, or third?
I want to go second.
Okay, Kyle, that means I go first?
I think it's you.
It's me.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I couldn't remember. It's been a long week. But that means I go first, Cole will be second, and Kyle will draft third. And I don't know that this is the spot I wanted to be in. I don't know if I have a 101. I mean, I guess I do. And it is one of those, actually, that Kyle would have left off of his list. Because I'm going to take Josh Brolin reprising the role of Cable.
That's what Becca... That would... Yeah.
Yep, sorry, Kyle, but you could have drafted him, but now you cannot.
He was on my list. I had him down.
I mean, Deadpool 2 is one of my favorite movies, period. You can stop it there. But he was so good. He's so perfect for Cable. And you even have Deadpool saying, like, zip it Thanos to him in the middle of the movie. So, I mean, it was perfect. It was awesome. I would like to see him play that role again.
It makes a ton of sense in Deadpool 3, since that's what inspired this, that he would appear there. Especially then they could make the jokes about it.
There has been some talk about this actually being a thing, but no confirmation yet, obviously. So Josh Brolin as Cable is the first pick. Cole, you chose to go second. What did you have in mind?
I'm going to take Chris Evans as the Human Torch.
I thought that might be the case.
Yep. He was the first one that came to my mind. And, he said he wasn't going to be Captain America again. But he didn't say he was going to be in the MCU again. So it's all about the semantics here.
Yeah, and look, we know there's all sorts of multiverse craziness coming up in the MCU, so I wouldn't close any doors.
Yeah, I think it makes a ton of sense. It would just be really fun if Chris Evans appears and then it turns out he's the Human Torch.
Yeah. I mean, I would. It would be awesome too if you had like Bucky just be like, Steve, and he's like, no, what? All right, Kyle, have we stalled long enough for you to build some sort of list?
No, I'm sticking to my original list.
Okay.
I'm not even taking
All
Foggy
right.
Nelson, even though I can now. So I guess I'll start off with someone heavily rumored, but not official. So I'm taking her, Kristen Ritter.
Okay, yeah, that I was curious how you guys wanted to handle this because the Netflix shows I guess are not. It's so confusing as to what is MCU and what is not anymore, but. Yeah, Kristen Ritter, it was one that I considered putting on my list, and then I was like, you know what? I'll just back away from Netflix. But I think it makes sense. Like, Charlie Cox we obviously could not draft because he has reprised the role, but none of the other Netflix stuff has. Well, Vince D'Onofrio as well. But aside from that, yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
And because I'm just aiming to lose, I'm going to take Sophie Turner as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sophie Turner returning to play Jean Grey. I did consider it, to be honest. The movie was awful, but I don't think she was bad.
Yeah.
She was
Gotta have
bad.
Mrs.
That movie
Jonas in there.
was one of my favorites because of how truly terrible it was.
You had me for a second there. I was like, oh no. But okay, good. I'm glad you turned a corner.
When I was on Who's the Boss, and I told him my favorite Star Wars line was Ray Skywalker. And then watched his face as he believed me for half a second.
Yeah. I mean, that is like the exact equivalent, essentially. So, Cole, we are back to you now.
All right. I'm going to stick with my theme and take Michael B. Jordan as the Human Torch.
I cannot wait for you to go back to like the 70s.
These were 1 and 2 on my board. And, I made it happen here. That I was thinking of going with the third pick to take them just truly back to back, but I wasn't sure if someone might take Chris Evans as the Human Torch first.
Well, you can take the unreleased 1994 Human Torch guy, whoever that is,
Yes.
if you want as well.
He's not.
And you know what? We
was considered.
didn't rule out voice actors. You can go get the animated Human Torch as well if you want to go full Human Torch.
Does everyone as the Human Torch? But Michael B. Jordan's really fun. And here's the thing: if we have both of them, then it sets up the Fantastic Four being in the multiverse. Fantastic Four 2, if we're in like 2028 now, tons of multiverse stuff. We just get all the Human Torches together like in Spider-Man, and we're set to go. It's very clear. I've got a vision for it.
Cole is full galaxy brain right now. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this whole Human Torch team now. But we're back to me now. I've got Josh Brolin as Cable.
So wait, will there be a passing of the torch?
No, because they'll all
again. That's all the time we have for today. Again,
they can't pass it since none of them are giving the roll up.
All right, we'll just flame on.
Okay, all right. I'm going to make my next pick here to just stop this.
I'm just saying.
I am not sure what I want most now. Oh man. There's ones that I think can definitely come back to me. Man, this is difficult. I didn't think I would have such a hard time with this, but I'm going to go with Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. I think there's potential to have Spider-Gwen or Ghost Spider in the MCU, and I think having her come back and making it a multiverse story, and I think that would be really cool. You could make that work.
What about the fact that she's dead?
Well, I mean, different point in time, different universe. It doesn't matter. You could go a lot of different ways with it.
It can't be Andrew Garfield's Gwen Stacy. It's got to be a separate universe as Gwen Stacy.
I did specifically pick Emma Stone and not Bryce Dallas Howard as Gwen Stacy. So just to clear that up, we're not getting Tobey Maguire's Gwen Stacy.
This one loves jazz.
I am not going back to that movie. No, okay, so Gwen Stacy, I have Emma Stone coming back for her. Now, there's two that I like, and I think both would come back to my fourth pick, but I guess I gotta take one here.
That is how it goes.
Yeah, it is. I mean, listen, who was it? Like the Vikings or something that just kind of ran out of time and lost their pick? I could pull one of those.
No, I'm
going to go
in this one.
I am torn on literally two actors for the same character, and this is so difficult.
He found out that one of these characters, their teammates didn't go to their 21st birthday, so that's the whole thing.
Wow, what was that? That was Baker, right? Was that a Baker Mayfield? Or was that Johnny Manziel? That was a Johnny Manziel callback.
It's neither.
No?
Although the Browns is correct. It's a fake Browns team in draft day.
Oh, no, I think that actually happened, too. I think it might have been a Johnny Manziel thing, too. No, but you're right. That is from the movie. You're right. That's the Bo whatever character.
Bo Callahan.
There you go, yeah.
I know, stupid thing. For the record, I've made both Moneyball and draft day references to you today. So,
well, hey, one of those is a great movie. I'll leave it at that.
The last 20 minutes of one of those movies is great.
The right one.
All right, let me make my pick now, and I'm going to go just completely off of my list, and I'm going to take Ian McKellen as Magneto.
Good choice.
I was torn. I was torn here, but I want to see. We already had Patrick Stewart come back. He wasn't on the table, so Sir Ian McKellen coming back as Magneto. I think a lot of people would be excited for that. All right, Cole, back to you. Which Human Torch are you drafting next?
Okay, no Human Torch this time. Instead, I'm going to take Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse.
Oh, no. Oh, man. Okay. Sure. Now, wait.
Will become apparent.
Now, before when responding to Kyle's Sophie Turner pick, when you said you loved the movie and then thankfully turned the corner, were you talking about Dark Phoenix or were you talking about Apocalypse?
Both. Really.
Okay, good. Just making sure that you didn't actually love Apocalypse.
Okay. Oscar Isaac was really good in that, though, because Oscar Isaac is always really good.
Oscar Isaac is fantastic. I love Oscar Isaac. I think that movie was so horribly written for that character. They just didn't give him the time to do what he can do.
And this is why they're going to bring him back, so they can do justice to it.
Because Kevin Feige can fix it.
Together.
I love it. All right. So you got Chris Evans, Michael B. Jordan, Oscar Isaac.
Thought of one more thing. Since he's already Moon Knight, you already have the ancient Egypt ties. You're set to go.
Nice.
It's all
very true.
Together.
Very true. So you can
like
have
Patton Oswalt and Parks and Rec now.
You can have Oscar Isaac sharing scenes with Oscar Isaac and Oscar Isaac. Exactly. That's what you've just built here.
Yep. You're welcome. You're welcome for making that happen.
And then, even add in a third Oscar Isaac for Jake Lockley, who showed up at the very end.
Yep.
All right, Kyle, Kristen Ritter and Sophie Turner.
I'm just going to continue adding heavy hitters here. I'm taking John Mulaney as Spider-Ham, Peter Porker.
That's a good I was thinking about something with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I wasn't sure about how to go, with Spider-Verse and like what actor do I actually want? I thought Nicolas Cage. I could have taken
Kristen Hahn, but apparently I didn't think I could do that. And then I could take Shameik Moore actually, but
I did think Shameik Moore too. And then I was also just like, how do you throw animated character? Do you just fully Roger Rabbit this? And I was just not sure how to handle it, but I love it. I love the Spider-Ham pick. I would love to see that character show up in the MCU. That would be unbelievable. Given the way Sony operates, though, I don't see that ending up happening. But okay, I like it. John Mulaney, and he is in good standing now, especially with Disney. So you're good there. What's your fourth pick going to be?
My fourth pick, per my wife, is Aubrey Joseph, who plays Cloak on Cloak and Dagger.
Oh, okay. I like it. That's a deep cut. Did Becca watch Cloak and Dagger?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I watched it and then gave up on season 2. And so completely forgot about it. But I like it. I actually I liked what I think her name was Olivia Holt as well, I think, who played Dagger. I thought she was really good too. So yeah, I like it. I would love for Cloak and Dagger to actually show up in the MCU too. Though I think they probably will have erased that show for whatever the characters do. So we'll see.
I covered an event Olivia Holt was at one time for Laughing Place. It was she was at a Nintendo event in New York.
Oh.
It was at the Nintendo store, hyping up some Disney game that came out, but then at the same time they were just giving out copies of her album. It was very confusing.
Sounds like some weird contractual stuff going on there.
Yeah, it was very. He must have been a voice in the game or something. That's the only.
I would assume, yeah. All right, Cole. We are back to you now. Do you want? You already have a personal relationship. Do you just draft Olivia Holt here?
I was thinking about it, but instead I'm going to take Jon Favreau as Foggy Nelson.
Just to get Kyle. Just to get at Kyle one last time here.
Yeah, he was actually on my list, though, before Kyle even said anything. So I just want to point that out. I was considering it. But, it'd be a lot of fun. Maybe then Ben Affleck shows up and he could be like Martha. Like, there's a lot
Ben Affleck's already in the MCU. There's lots of Ben Afflecks in the MCU.
Because if you white, you Ben Affleck.
Yep.
I got that one. I saw that one. I almost made the joke myself. I'm glad you stepped in. Yeah, that's classic role models reference there. We are all over the place this week. All right, let me make the last pick of this draft here. And again, there are some that I really want to pick here. There's some really good casting outside of the MCU in these Marvel movies that I have really liked, and I am probably going to throw any chance I have of winning this vote here because I'm going to go to a really terrible movie, but I thought the casting was great. I love the actor, so I want Woody Harrelson back as Cletus Cassidy, aka Carnage. Again, not a good movie. There were some fun moments, but Woody Harrelson's great, and I would love him in the MCU as that character again. I thought the casting was really, really smart. Did either of you see Venom: Let There Be Carnage?
I did.
You did? Oh,
No.
I'm sorry.
I liked it more than the first one, I think.
I liked things about it more than the first one, but I think as a whole, the first one was a little bit better.
Yeah,
But
I should preface that I didn't like it, but I liked it more than the first one. I think
Yes,
that's an
that
important
sounds-
clarification.
that sounds right. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. All right, let me run through our teams real quick, and then we'll get into some honorable mentions. I know I have quite a few I want to talk about, but I got Josh Brolin as Cable, Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, Suri and McKellen as Magneto, and Woody Harrelson as Carnage. Cole got Chris Evans as the Human Torch, Michael B. Jordan as the Human Torch, Oscar Isaac as I would assume the Human Torch, and Jon Favreau as Foggy Nelson. No, that's Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse. Kyle has Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones, Sophie Turner as Jean Grey, John Mulaney as Spider-Ham, and Aubrey Joseph as Cloak. Cole, I know there was one you were upset you did not get to draft. Who were you missing out on?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, you really missed out on your last pick not taking Michael Fassbender and doubling up Magneto's.
I thought about it. I was really torn between taking Ian McKellen or Fassbender because I thought Fassbender was great.
But you could have taken both. They were both.
I could have. You're right.
But so my strategy here was to only take people who are also in the MCU. I don't know if you
Didn't notice that.
But that was my entire strategy. Was only taking people because here's the thing: we're in the multiverse now. So since we're in the multiverse, they could all appear just at random times. So my whole strategy was I'm only taking people. So with that in mind,
We got it.
with that in mind.
So you just want those face-to-face scenes with the actor talking to themselves.
That is correct.
That's what you were really looking for.
That's all I want. Yes. So with that in mind,
Thank you
I
for
had
breaking that down.
Idris Elba as Moreau in Ghost Rider 2.
Oh wow, that's a deep cut.
Jennifer Connelly as Betty Ross from the 2003 Hulk movie.
Oh no. Oh man, you have some bad movies on that list.
She
Brian
just
Darcy
wanted to talk to
James-
herself as AI.
Yeah, Brian Darcy James as the President of the United States, who was also in Dark Phoenix. He played that in Dark Phoenix, and then played a role in Hawkeye. But then the real one, the one I would have made my fourth pick, was David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury.
I thought about that one too. Yeah,
That's the one I really feel like if I could have gone back, I wouldn't have taken Foggy Nelson. I would have gone with the Haas, but didn't realize it was only 4 rounds. Thought I
Do you
had a
mean
fifth
Sadhu
to rely
Hasselfra?
on.
Well, I mean, he's a busy guy, and you don't hassle the Hoff, so it makes sense that you would pass on that. That's one that also would break everything because Hasselhoff has been mentioned in the MCU. So
Exactly.
that.
I want it to be as broken as possible.
Okay, Kyle, what about you? Any other honorable mentions?
Well, I mentioned Shamik Moore.
Yeah.
I also have Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah,
because-
Kelsey Grammer was one that I was really wanting to take because I don't think they've ever gotten the voice of the character more perfect. Like, that casting was so spot on.
I mean, Frasier. So.
Right. It nailed it.
And then, yeah, just some more X-Men, Halle Berry and McAvoy.
Okay. You know what? I have to say it. You know what happens to a frog when it gets struck by lightning? Sorry, a toad. What happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning?
Same thing that happens to everything else.
Yeah. I considered Halle Berry just for that line, just to have her come out and say that. Okay, so
I was drafting Catwoman. I'm confused.
I had Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane Watson. I thought that was one that I thought was good casting at the time. Thomas Jane as the Punisher. I never actually even.
I had that too.
I never
Becca laughed at
even
me.
watched the movie. And actually, now that we had ruled out the Netflix series, I 100% would have taken John Bernthal as the Punisher, but just stayed away from that. January Jones as Emma Frost. Emma Frost is a major player in X-Men comics, and would love to see her have a role in the MCU. And another one that's a terrible movie that kind of got forgotten very quickly. But Anya Taylor-Joy is one of the biggest actresses in Hollywood right now, and she played Magic in New Mutants. And love the character, love the actress. Would love to see that character come into the MCU. That does it for this ridiculous, nonsensical, off the rails draft. Cole, thanks for joining us. What do you have going on with Laughing Place these days?
Just every other week we still have the extinct attractions going on.
Can we get a tease? What are you working on next?
That is a great question.
Tails.
I did think about Kite Tails, but I'm still holding out hope that it comes back.
You can
Why?
go ahead and throw that hope
it.
away.
I loved it. It looks like the next one's going to be a parade called Starlight Magic.
Okay. All right. Well, Cole, next time we are together in Walt Disney World, I will buy you a balloon, and it'll be just like watching Kite Tails. But
you have to crash it at the end.
Exactly.
You have to run with it and then just like slam it.
After a while, I will just take it and dunk it in the water, and it'll be just like Kite Tails.
Honestly, let's do it in December. I'll be there then.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan. Well, Cole, thanks again for joining us. This is a lot of fun.
Thank you.
You know what I just realized, Mac?
What?
Cole took all people that were already in the MCU.
Oh, man. There are so many great things about what just happened here that are like behind-the-scenes things. That's just... the second I hit record again here, and you just immediately jumped on that, and I loved it. And that's going to start our outro here. So thanks, everyone, for joining us for another episode of the Zzzax of Life podcast. This was as nonsensical as we've ever been, and just off the rails, and you know what? These are my favorite episodes, though, so I had a good time.
Yeah.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Zzzax of Life Pod so you can vote for... I don't know how, but just vote for who you think won this draft. Kyle, what's going on with Entertainment Earth?
Entertainment Earth. All sorts of new items. I think HasCon was, or has PulseCon, whatever they call it, was this past week. I know they released a bunch of Marvel things. Those ones, you'll be able to get free shipping on orders over $39. But if items are in stock, you can get 10% off. And you can do this by going to ee.toys/LPFan, or just going to Entertainment Earth and using the code LPFan at checkout. Yeah,
that PulseCon, I didn't watch live because I had no power. But going back and looking at some of the posts, going back and looking at Becca's coverage of it and seeing some of the figures that were revealed, my God, they are just trying to bankrupt me. But there's so much cool stuff that will be on Entertainment Earth, so you can check that out. We will be back next week. Like I said earlier, we have to figure out some scheduling stuff because you got She-Hulk still going on, but also Werewolf by Night coming out. We'll probably finish up She-Hulk and then do a special episode for Werewolf by Night right after that. But yeah, so Marvel just throwing a whole bunch of content at us. Like, what else is new? Be sure to check out laughingplace.com for all your Marvel news and Disney news in general. And anything else, Kyle? What am I forgetting?
I think you're good.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up there then before we get into any more nonsense here. We'll be back next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.